Alright, hello and welcome to the very first ever Dominion League statistics analysis video, specifically for the very first event we've ever done. We tried very hard to record a whole bunch of different stats during the 3 games that were played in the first event, and it's taken me a very long time, but I've done a whole bunch of statistical analysis on a bunch of the data we recorded, and there's some pretty cool results that we've been able to pull out from all the data we gathered, and I'd like to share them with you. Of course, from the first event, it's been a year. So if you don't remember, here are the faces of all the people. We have players P, G, T, I, R, and J on my team. And on the opposing team, we have players A, K, D, and TA. Quite an amazing bunch of people. We had a ton of fun. Everyone really liked the event and said they want to do another one. So I do want to do another one. I'm thinking the date is going to be something like August 10th. Probably around noon to 3 p.m. We'll really see, but August 10th seems like Dominion League Event 2 is going to take place. So, that's what we're hoping for. The data that was recorded by them was recorded on these 2 wonderfully horrific scrolls. Here is a picture of them both sitting on my kitchen floor. This was a nightmare. I'm very happy that we were able to record all this data. I'm very happy that the other players went along with me trying to capture all this. But look at some of these. I mean, there's some like genuine hieroglyphics in here. My intent was for everyone. So the data that what data did we gather? I guess I should answer. The data that we gathered was 5 points from every event of one player eliminating another. We recorded the killer's name, their class, where in the body they tagged the person who died, their name, and then what class they were. So those 5 events, and then from that we were able to infer what game it occurred during, and then what team either one of the players were on. And this was all recorded on these 2 big scrolls, but some of it just divulged into hieroglyphics and was like impossible to read. We started out with full words, we eventually transitioned to stick figures, and then the stick figures even lost coherency, and we transitioned to like symbols, just like triangles and lines and stuff, and like it was quite the mess. But I'm really glad that they were at least willing to write anything down. And here's what they wrote. So I transitioned all of that information into a very large spreadsheet. There were 72 total kill events, which occurred during 3 different 10-minute games. And so here's, of course, the outline of all the information which was gathered. The player who died, the team they were on, the class they were, where in the body they got tagged, the person who killed them, what team they were on, and their class, and then of course the round of play. The top 5 points marked in orange were obviously literally recorded, and the bottom 3 were just inferred through position on the scroll. This took so long to do, but we've come up with some very cool pieces of evidence that I deeply enjoy, so I want to show them to you now. So here's just very simple stats, just a pie chart. It's not at all complex how to do this. You can just click and drag and create a pie chart in Google Sheets, and we can just kind of glance at this. It doesn't really reveal some of the deeper things, but just on the surface you can see, wow, I got a lot of kills. 20 kills. I killed 20.78 or 27.8% of all of the deaths were caused by me. Now, I do believe I was falsely attributed some extra kills. I think there may have been several events where I was tangentially a part, though not the actual cause of a death, and then it just got given to me. So I think my number is inflated, but still, a lot of kills. Player coming in second is player A with 12, which is extremely impressive. However, what seems to be more impressive is that even with 12 kills, they managed 17 deaths. That's crazy. Player A was an extremely active player. They did a ton of running around and a ton of fighting, a bunch of flag capturing, a bunch of flag defending, actually. So, if you're out there, we'd love to have you for the next event this year. Like, that'd be really cool if you're up for it, so who knows. But yeah, these are the pie charts. You can pause if you'd like to analyze them deeper. This was one of my favorite pie charts because it confirms a previous hypothesis that we've had at AIC for a very long time. It confirms some parts of it at least. So the hypothesis is that people make armor first because they get tagged on the arms the most. And so they're armoring the spots that they get tagged so they don't get tagged there anymore. And it progresses, and then they start making big plates and start filling in gaps between plates, and that's just kind of whole science of armor. But it kind of shows. Unfortunately, 32.3% of the kill events did not log a location, so we just missed like a third of the data because they just didn't write it down. So that quite sucks. But 32.3% were arm tags, and then wrist, shoulder, and just wrist and shoulder tags would probably safely be lumped into those. So definitely getting tagged on the arms in some area was the most common. The next most common, our hypothesis was, the two most frequent locations of being tagged are arms, or shoulders to that extent, and then back stabs. And in this case, back actually wasn't that much. It was only 4.6%, which is still kind of a lot. But I suspect that you could potentially wrap side and then maybe some shoulder into a collective being stabbed in the back or being stabbed by someone who you're not directly fighting. But yeah, very interesting graph. Notice a lot of legs. I think legs are actually the second most common location, and that is definitely perhaps partially my fault. My particular fighting style at AIC does focus around leg strikes because it's great for shield users to get under and around things. So that's a whole different story. But there's another pie chart, and then the last pie chart. This has got to be my favorite pie chart, for sure. Of course, if we can go back to what all the players were, we of course have player P, G, player R, player K was a knight as well, and player TA. So 5 out of the 9 players were all knights. And we had more than that represented in kills. So knight is definitely a very effective class. It is obviously here the most effective class, while there are some, statistical weird things because they were so overrepresented. But yeah, 50 kills out of the 72 is very impressive at 69.4%. The other one of note on this particular graph is the bludgeon class, actually. A bludgeon like one of these, this is my very old bludgeon. I don't really use it anymore just because now bludgeons are one-handed. This was made when they were two-handed. This is made when they were one-handed, they're now two-handed. But the bludgeon class got a total of 9 kills, or 12.5% of all the kills throughout the 3 games. However, we only have 1 bludgeon user. So that stat is entirely propped up by a single fighter, player TI. So massive, massive respect to that guy. He did extremely well during the day, and he single-handedly represented the bludgeon class. So much respect to him. Yes, so here are KDR values. If you're unfamiliar, it's a very common gaming term. It's kill-death ratio. How many times you got killed divided by how many times you died. It gives you a score that essentially tells you how likely you are to win any given encounter. And this is where certain things start to get weird. So in this first game, my personal KDR value, player G, is outrageous. I don't think I got that many kills. But, 6 are attributed to me, and only 1 death was attributed to me, so 6 over 1 is 6. And so that gives me a KDR of 6. The runner-up KDR, I believe, is player TI with 1.5, so a quarter of my KDR, which is very, very low in my opinion. So I'm wondering if there's some false attributions here, because players J, D, and K don't have any kills, which is kind of weird. I'm not sure. I didn't look that closely through the video. This is mostly just from the scrolls that were written. But yeah, very weird game. Game 2, actually. So this was the game which my team was in the castle. Because we were in the Outlands the first game and the third game, and we were in the castle the second. And so in this game, my KDR is actually lower. It's only 4.5. But if you do look at the small little spreadsheet in the corner, I actually ended up getting more kills. I got 9 kills and 2 deaths for a KDR of 4.5. Though player TI did extremely well with a KDR of 2.5 with 5 kills and 2 deaths. And the other one, which I would like to, mention, is player A, of course. Again, extremely active with 4 kills, but 5 deaths. So his KDR is not terribly impressive at 0.8. But he was just so active. Still a very impressive fighter, and did a whole lot for this game. But Here's game 3. So this is actually the first game where my KDR is lower than 2 other fighters. My KDR is 2.5, and player P really did very well. With 7 kills and 2 deaths for a KDR of 3.5. They were extremely active in this game, much more active than they were in previous games. And player K as well, with, I believe, yes, 3 kills and 1 death with a KDR of 3. Very active player, very impressive KDR, and this feels a little bit more accurate. I feel like a KDR of 6 is kind of unreasonable when we only have 9 players, but anyways, yeah, so here are all the separate comparisons. We can see that I'm the KDR leader in games 1 and 2, and then in game 3, it's actually player P. Certain people had good games and bad games, but it seems like everyone was on the board at some point, which is good. We didn't have anyone who was off the board for all the games. Yeah, an all-time high KDR of 6, and there were some people who just didn't get a kill in 10 minutes, but might have died once, and so the KDR would just be 0. Still very impressive. A lot of good fighters, a lot of good fights. Very fun game. So yeah, here's across all the games. My average KDR for the first event was 4, with 20 kills and 5 deaths, though I know all my deaths are accurate because I watched all of them, but I'm not sure if all my kills are, so that might be lower than it really is. Player TI with KDR of 1.11, player J with a KDR of 0.5 with 3 kills and 6 deaths, player R with a KDR of 0.25 with 1 kill and 4 deaths, player P with 9 and 5, so a 1.8 KDR. Dang, they got 7 kills in 1 game, so 7 of their 9 kills came from game 3. Player TA, again, extremely active, 10 kills and 12 deaths, so unfortunately a sub 1 KDR at 0.83, but still very active and did a lot for his team. Player A with 12 kills and 17 deaths, so the kill leader for their team, but also the death leader for the entire event. And so a KDR of 0.71, which isn't like an impressive KDR, but just the level of activity is quite surprising. Now this one is quite unfortunate. Player D with a KDR of 0.2, that being 2 kills and 10 deaths. They were active, but not in the traditional combat way. So if you are a flag carrier and you're running with some flag, even if you have weapons in your hand, you actually just can't use them because you're the sacred flag bearer. And so you just have to run away from people. So every time you're carrying a flag and you encounter an opponent, your only option is just to run away. And so if there's no way to positively improve your KDR from an encounter, all it can do is you get away so it stays the same, or you die so it goes lower. You're just going to end up lowering your KDR over and over again. But player D, I think, single-handedly contributed well over half of the flag captures for their team. So very impressive player, even if their KDR is not that high. And then player K with 5 kills and 4 deaths for a KDR of 1.25. Still very impressive. So this was one of the stats that I really wanted to do, and I'm glad that we recorded our information in this way. Event 1, Game 1, player-specific kills and death stats. So there's 2 kind of spreadsheet things here. There's the top one and the bottom one. And in the top one, we can see every time that, so the top row is my team's players, with player G being me. And the side column is the opponent teams, with players TA, A, D, and K. And every time player G killed player TA, that number is marked in the corresponding column where they overlap. So I killed player TA once. However, player TI killed him twice, player R killed him once, and player B killed him once. So all those values are tallied up way at the far column in team TA deaths for player TA. So in the first game, player TA died 5 times. And player A died 4, player D died twice, and player K never died throughout the 10 minutes. In that first game, I got 6 kills, player TI got 3, player J got none, player R got 1, and player P got 1. And then the bottom spreadsheet, of course, is how many deaths my team had, and then that corresponds to kills. So in the bottom spreadsheet, the column on the far side, TA team kills, player TA got 4 kills. So even though they died 5 times, they got 4 kills, so a KDR of like 0.8 or something, which is not bad. Generally trading in most fights, I suppose. Yeah, so that's just kind of the the standard setup for this. In particular, it's just impressive that for this game, I did get many kills. I got more kills than the rest of my team combined. And on our team, or on the opponent's team, there were 11 deaths, and on our team there were 7. And so we did end up winning the first game, and this is kind of showed because we got more kills than they did throughout the 10 minutes. Also notice an average of a little better than a kill a minute for the invaders. So, that's not bad, but, our expectation that there would be like 30 kills in 10 minutes is just completely unreasonable. There's no way that would happen in a normal game. So we're going to have to revise some of our rules. So in Event 1, Game 2, once again, I'm attributed many kills here. I have 2 kills on TA, 3 kills on A, 3 kills on D, and 1 kill on player K for a total of 9. And once again, I'm like more than half the kills, which kind of doesn't really make sense to me. Player TI did very well, though, with 5 total kills. You can see in the second column, player TI's kills in the top section. And so, yeah, this is one where we were in the castle, and so we actually... No, that's right. Oh, wow, I'd forgotten about that. In player 1, or in game 1, we actually lost. Yeah, because the opponent, the castle team, managed to take 2 flags and hold them throughout the full game. So even though we had more kills, we still lost. That's interesting. But then in this game, of course, we got a ton more kills because we were in the castle, and so we had a better defensive advantage, and we just ended up dominating. So we did end up winning game 2, but losing game 1, because our team had 16 kills and the opponent had 8. And then in the last game, we had 16 kills again, but our opponent had 14. So it goes to show, game 3 is 100% the most competitive, the most compelling, the closest game of the 3. I only got 5 kills. And player P actually did incredibly well and got 7, so they outstripped me for kills that game. And it looks like I had 2 deaths over the course of the 10 minutes, with player TI having 5, player J having 3, player R having 2, and player P having 2, for a total of 14 deaths from my team. So yeah, game 3 was incredibly intense. So these are just, we added cell-wise all the cells together and then showed them. So across all 3 games, we can see that I got, just for me, player G in the top, I got 3 kills on player TA, 9 kills on player A, 7 on player D, and 1 on player K, for a total of my 20 kills. Though, again, I'm not entirely sure if all those are completely accurate, but, we'll see. And I ended up with 4 deaths to player TA. He really had my number throughout this. He kind of knew the strat to get me, and it worked many times. So I did end up with 5 deaths, and 1 death by player A, so yeah, 5 deaths. Player TI had 10 kills and 9 deaths, J 3 and 6, and so on and so forth, the KDA values, which we discussed. But you can see here that Team TA, we had 5 people, got 43 kills throughout the 3 games. So we averaged a kill, once every like 45 seconds or something like that. And player TA only got 29 kills. So it really does go to show that maybe it was because we were outlands, or maybe there was a competitive advantage for how many players we had. But we really did get a lot more kills than they did across the 3 games. And I think that difference was largely made up in game 2, actually. But all in all, 72 total kill events for the full game. Oh yes, and then specific KDR values for 2 different people. And these are non-symmetrical, of course. So for me, my KDR against player TA is 0.75. In the top, the first column, the first row. That means that, and I may be misinterpreting this, essentially the chance of me winning a fight against them would be 3 out of 4, or 0.75. So bad odds, essentially. Very risky for me to try to go to fight them because my KR against them was very low. However, against player A, my KDR is 9, which is incredibly high. So if I were to ever go fight them, I would have a very high chance of defeating them. Then against player D, it was 7, so once again a high chance, and player K, only 1. So it'd be more fair if we were to go and fight. There's not necessarily a defined understanding of who would win all those fights. And then player TA against me has a 1.33. So he's actually, on average, likely to win rather than lose, though it's close to 1, so we'd often trade. Player A has a horrible chance of beating me at 0.11. player D never killed me, and nor did player K. Player TI had a KDR of 3 against player TA, so actually like 4 times better than I did. So it would make a lot of sense where if I wanted, if we were having an encounter and player TA, or TA was on the other team and TI and me were on the same team, and TI is a bludgeon and I'm a knight, there's no reason for me to go fight player TA. My KDR against him is abysmal. It makes way more sense for us to send out player TI and for me to help him rather than for me to go forward and try to take a one-on-one, because I'd just lose. But player TI has a much better success rate, and so he'd be more likely to win. Yeah. Some other metrics of note here are player R and player K have a 3.0 KDR against each other, so player K has a extreme advantage against player R. And I guess the other one of note is player P had a good KDR against player TA. Player TA was just kind of a monster. He was a very, very effective fighter and did very well. But there are a few people that have his number, just not me. So, you know, it is what it is. Well, all in all, those are some of the statistics we covered in the very first event. We want to do another event, again, August 10th, so it's in a couple of weekends here. It's coming up kind of quick. I'm gonna need to like build a new castle, or maybe I'll talk to Julian and rent a castle from him. You know, we'll see. Everything's kind of up in the air. But yeah, that's what we did for the first event. We want to record all the same stuff again for the next event, so we can compile all the data and get even more accurate understandings of what's going on. I think over a long enough period of time, if we just keep recording data and keep collecting it and aggregating it, we can start to get some really cool insights for certain rock, paper, scissors phenomenon that are occurring. So yeah, that's it. The next one will be August 10th. Here's all what we did for the first one. I hope to see you at the next one. I think it'd be really cool. If you have any suggestions for other statistics we should consider recording, please leave them in the comments or send me an email, because I will be probably putting out a video in the next few days with a form describing how to sign up for the next event. So, you know, look forward to that. That's about it for me. Thanks so much for watching, and best of luck. I'll see you later.